Good afternoon. It is Monday, August the 21st, about 12:45 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson with Weather Flow, bringing you a wind wave and weather forecast for the Surfers Healing Folly Beach 2023 event this Wednesday. Definitely have a few things to talk about. Looks like it might be a little windy in the morning, which means we're going to have a little bit of a current. But I still think our waves are going to be up. They're going to be building on a high tide. So let's get into that in just a second. Let me put myself in the corner and just kind of show off the website for surfershealing.org. Izzy Paskowitz and his crew and everybody along helping design this webpage, keep it going with all the camp schedule, the volunteers, where to donate, everything like that. So appreciate everybody's help from the Paskowitz family and others to help keep this moving along every single year. And our local Nancy Hussey for putting this all together here in the Folly Beach area for gosh, I don't even know how many years now, Nancy. I mean, I've been doing the forecast for you for 7 or 8 years, but you've been around for several more beyond that. But I tell you what, great job on the group. Great job on the graphic too this year. I really love the creativity. Always pleasantly surprised to see the creativity. This one really captures the essence of the event with the surfer and the rider with the surfer. So man, this is amazing graphics. I really love it. So come here for this group if you want to share experiences, share pictures, anything that you have. This is the best thing to come to. This is where all the photographers will be posting their photos, videos, anything else, YouTube shorts, anything like that. Come here to this group to share. It's a great group. All right, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get into the forecast here. So as we wake up Tuesday morning, we're going to have a cold front, what's called a backdoor front, coming from the north to the south. That's what a backdoor front is along the coastline here on the East Coast. And high pressure over the Great Lakes is going to be driving that down pretty quickly through the morning. It'll be stalling near the Georgia-South Carolina border, which means we may have a little bit of moisture pile up, maybe a few showers, convective storms, very light storms, nothing severe, maybe just a rumble or two early around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think that'll be pushing through by 8 or 8:30. And with anything, if anything, might be a few residual isolated showers, but it is a rather dry front, so we may not get anything but a few clouds and maybe a few drizzles or sprinkles. So, kind of to be determined on that as we get into tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we'll have a much better idea of what the shower activity may look like for early morning, but I think most of it will push through by mid to late morning anyways. So just be prepared for that. Have an umbrella handy, and I mean, heck, you're going to be getting wet at the beach anyway, so if you can get there, find an umbrella to get under, you're probably going to be okay. But I'm not too concerned about storm activity lingering at this point um, until we get to the afternoon, and that may just be limited to inland. But as far as the surf goes, looks like for Wednesday, of course, they're saying poor and poor to fair only because of the size of the swell, 1 to 2 feet. But I think we're going to be more like 2 feet, which is about um, thigh high right now. It looks pretty good out on camera if we look at the webcams. It looks pretty glassy. There's a few decent little lines out there for longboarding. I mean, not a lot of surfers out, but these are good waves. These are good waves for this event, right? So anything that's above knee high, we're getting into the thigh and waist level. That's gonna be good, and we're gonna be on a building swell too. So the waves will be picking up, but the current I think may be an issue. But the waves are looking good either way. There's gonna be some swell out there. It won't be a lake. There'll be definitely longboardable and it'll be fine. Now the nearshore wave prediction system, as we get into the 23rd. It looks like the waves are going to start to build in the morning. We're going to see 2 feet, and then we're going to start to build as we get into the afternoon. So waves are going to be building through the day. Looks like we start about knee to thigh, and then by the time we get to lunchtime, early afternoon, that east-northeast wind is going to be driving the swell. It's going to be picking up. Might start to get a little rough, a little choppy out there. We're looking at stomach high, and then by the evening, maybe even some stomach to chest sets. But again, we're looking at some wind. Looking at the wind forecast for Folly Beach, we look at Wednesday, and some of the models are now pointing to it look like might be a little bit lighter. And I did allude, I did a recording yesterday, but I forgot to turn the mic on, and I left, and then I didn't have time to re-record it. But I did talk about the winds being up to 14 to 18 knots, starting a little bit early. So the way this usually works for Folly Beach is, I'm just going to go down to where the pier is, and the way it usually works in the morning when you have a front like that coming through, well, the winds are not automatically going to be this direction, right? At sunrise, it's very uncommon for that to happen. Usually what happens is 7, 8 o'clock, we have this offshore sort of north-northeast or northeast flow. And then as we go through the morning, 8, 9 o'clock, we'll see the harbor will turn first. So we'll see the harbor sensors where this at Fort Sumter, we're starting to see that northeast to east northeast flow. We'll still be offshore here at Folly Beach, being a little farther out. And then what happens is by the time we get about 9 and 10 o'clock, it may all come up at one time. So this, it might be feel a little sneaky, like it's a little light and everything. You feel a little bit of wind, a little puff here and there. Then all of a sudden, one from one 5 or 10 minute increment to another, boom, we're here with an east northeast wind that really picks up, and we're looking at 14 to 18 knots, and it could be 16 to 20. We may end up with like a moderate wind where it gets a little windy. So if you're doing um, you know, the tents and umbrellas and everything, make sure they're anchored down really well because I do expect it to be rather windy on the beach at some point by mid-morning, if not late morning. So something to think about. But another thing that comes with that wind is a what we call northeast to southeast current. So the current's going to be ripping as that wind picks up. It may take a little while for it to happen, but it will happen after an hour or two where that current's really going to be ripping down the coastline. So keep a really good eye on your kids that day for that current to be pulling down. I don't see much in the way of rip currents necessarily, but you want to be aware that those currents are going to be pulling pretty strong with some bigger waves starting to develop on the inside. It gets a little bit rough. I think the surfers out there will have a good time. They'll be able to manage that correctly on a longboard. It just may involve a little bit more paddling around and just kind of staying at the same point of the beach. It's like they'll have flags and buoys and everything out there, so they'll know where to stay at. But just that one concern with the currents that rip through and the higher winds. But otherwise, the temperature looks pretty good. It looks like we're going to have some cooler temperatures. Put myself back in the corner in the upper 80s simply because that wind is going to have a northerly element. So the northeast to east northeast wedge typically brings a cooler air. So kind of a first small taste of fall. Not fall on the wing yet, but looks like that's our first taste. And then even next week we start to drop into the 80s for highs. So that's our first little sign. But other than that, looking at precip from the NAM 12, this is one of the models we use right here. Just a little bit of moisture that comes along with that cold front for right now. And like I said, nothing in the area of like storms. Maybe a rumble or two as they go through early. I mean, we're talking um, like 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, well, 8 o'clock here, 9 o'clock, and then by that time everything's moving out. So the timing of this may matter, but I think it's just going to be a quick smattering of convective showers, if anything else. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the forecast for that. It looks like in a nutshell, for Wednesday, we can expect a few showers early. Winds starting to pick up mid-morning, getting a little bit windy by mid to late morning from the east northeast. You're going to have that onshore fetch getting a little rough out there. That current is going to start to go from north to south down the beach. And then the waves are going to be picking up as well. The high tide around 138. So we're on a low to high tide. So be watchful of your belongings on the beach as the tide comes up, and it'll come up a little quicker because of the winds driving the swell into the coastline. So be aware of that and just be ready for one perfect day on Wednesday and hope to see you all out there. I know I'm going to be out there Tuesday night staying at the tides, so I'm looking forward to being out there bright and early. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and I'll make sure to get this to Nancy or myself. Will be able to share on the group and get it out to everybody to watch. So have a good day, everybody. We'll see you Wednesday morning. Thank you.